Hello and welcome to our channel Aglasam School. So today in this video we are going to discuss about NCERT solutions for class 10th, and here we are covering the subject social science, and the part from social science which we are covering is history. So let's start the book India and the Contemporary World second. So here from this book we are covering chapter number 2, and the name of the chapter is Nationalism in India. So let's start with the very first exercise, which is on page number 50, that is write in brief. So here question number 1 says explain, and the part A from question number 1 is why the growth of nationalism in the colonies is linked to an anti-colonial movement. So let's start with the answer part. So the first is people begin discovering their unity in the process of their struggle with colonialism. Second part is the sense of being oppressed under colonialism provided a shared bond that tied many different groups together. Third part is but each class and group felt that effect of colonialism differently. Their experiences were varied and their nation of freedom were not always the same. The Congress under Mahatma Gandhi tried to forge these groups together within one movement, but the unity did not emerge without conflict. So let's come to B part, that is how the First World War helped in the growth of national movement in India. So the answer is war created a new political and economic situation. So the first part is led to a huge increase of defense expenditure, which was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were increased and the income tax introduced. Second part is forced recruitment in villages caused widespread anger. Third is crops failed. This resulted in acute shortage of food. Fourth is 12 to 13 million people died due to famines and epidemics. So now let's come to the C part, that is why Indians was outraged by the Rowlatt Act. So the answer for the same is Rowlatt Act was introduced in 1919. Second is this act was hurriedly passed through the Imperial Legislative Council, although it was completely opposed by Indian members. Third is it had given the government enormous power to repress political activities. Fourth part is it allowed detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. Now, moving to the next, that is part D, why Gandhiji decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. So the answer is in February 1922, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. He felt the movement was turning violent in many places, and satyagrahis needed to be properly trained before they would be ready for mass struggles. So now let's moving to the next, that is question number 2, which says what is meant by the idea of satyagraha. So the answer for the same is the idea of satyagraha emphasizes the power of truth and the need to search for truth. It suggested that if the cause was true, if the struggle was against injustice, then the physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. Without seeking there or being aggressive, a satyagrahi could win the battle through non-violence. This could be done by appealing to the conscience of oppressors. People, including the oppressors, had to be persuaded to see the truth instead of being forced to accept truth through the use of violence. By this struggle, the truth was bound to triumph ultimately. Mahatma Gandhi believed that this dharma of non-violence could unite all Indians. So now let's come to question number 3, which says write a newspaper report on A. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So the answer for the same is on 13th April, the infamous Jallianwala Bagh incident took place. On that day, a large crowd was gathered in the enclosed ground of Jallianwala Bagh. Some came to protest against the government's new repressive measures. Others had come to attend the annual Baisakhi fair. Being from outside the city, many villagers were unaware of the martial law that had been imposed. Dyer entered the area, blocked the exit points, and opened fire in the crowd, killing of hundreds. His objective, as he declared later, was to produce a moral effect in the mind of Satyagrahis, a feeling of terror. Now, let's come to B part from the same question, the Simon Commission. So, the answer for the same is when the Simon Commission arrived in India in 1928, it was greeted with the slogan, Go Back Simon. All parties, including the Congress and the Muslim League, participated in the demonstration. In an effort to win them over, the Viceroy, Lord Irwin, announced in October 1929 a vague offer of dominant status for India is an unspecified future and a round table conferences to discuss our future constitution. This did not satisfy the Congress leaders. Now, moving to the next question, that is question number 4, that is compare the images of Bharat Mata in the chapter with the image of Germania in chapter 1. So the answer is in Germania, first is symbol of Germany, in Bharat Mata symbol of India. The second point is the image was painted by Philip Waite in 1848. Second point from the Bharat Mata is painted by Rabindranath Tagore in 1905. Third point is carrying a sword in one hand and flag in another hand. So in Bharat Mata, Bharat is standing with a trishul, standing beside a lion and elephant, symbol of power and authority. And the fourth point from Germania is wearing a crown of oak leaves as a German oaks stand for heroism. So now let's come to the next part, that is discuss. And here from the same page, page number 50, from discuss part, question number 1 says list all the different social groups which joined the non-cooperation movement of 1921. Then choose any 3 to write about their hopes and struggle to show why they joined the movement. So the answer is below is the list of different social groups who joined the non-cooperation movement and their struggle. So let's move to the list. So the first is middle class participation in cities. Thousands of students left government-controlled schools and colleges. Headmasters and teachers resigned, and lawyers gave up their legal practices. The council election was boycotted in most provinces except Madras, where the Justice Party, the party of non-Brahmins, felt that entering the council was the one way of gaining some power. Something that usually the Brahmins had across to the effects of non-cooperation on the economic front were more dramatic. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops were picketed, and the foreign clothes were burned in huge bonfires. The import of foreign clothes halved between 1921 and 1922, its value dropping from 102 crore to rupees 57 crore. In many places, merchants and traders refused to trade in foreign goods and finance foreign trade. As the boycott movement spread and the people began discarding imported clothes and wearing only Indian ones, production of Indian textile mills and handlooms went up, but this movement in the cities gradually slowed down the variety of reasons. Khadi clothes was often more expensive than mass-produced meal clothes and poor people could not afford to buy it. Similarly, the boycott of British institutions posed a problem. For the movement of the successful alternative Indian institution had to be set up so that they could be used place of the British ones. These were slow to come up, so students and teachers began trickling back to government school and lawyers joined back work in government courts. So now let's come to the second part, that is peasant and tribals. In Awadh, peasants were led to Baba Ramchandra, a sannyasi who had earlier been to Fiji as an indentured laborer. The movement here was against talukdar and landlords who demanded exorbitantly high rents and a variety of other ceases from peasants. Peasants had to do beggar and work at landlords' farms without any payment. As tenants, they had no security of tenure, being regularly evicted so that they could acquire no right over the leased land. The peasant movement demanded reductions of revenue, the abolition of beggar and social boycott of oppressive landlords. In these many places in Nairobi, burns were organized by panchayats and deprived landlords of the services of barbers and washermen. Tribal peasants and interpreted the message of Mahatma Gandhi and the ideas of Swaraj is yet another way. In the Gudem hills of Andhra Pradesh, for intense and military guerrilla movement spread in the early 1920s. Not a formal struggle that the Congress would could approve. In other forest region, the colonial government had closed large forest areas, preventing people from entering the forest to graze their cattle, to collect fuel wood and fruits. The enraged the hill people. Not only were their livelihoods affected, but they felt that their traditional rights were being denied. When the government began forcing them to contribute beggar for road building, the hill people revolted. Now, workers in plantations. Workers too had their own understanding of Mahatma Gandhi and the nation of Swaraj for plantation worker in Assam. Freedom meant to be the right more freely and out of the confined space in which they were enclosed, as it meant retaining a link with the village from which they had come. Under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, plantation worker was not permitted to leave the tea garden without permission. And in fact, they were rarely granted such permission. When they heard the non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers, defiant authorities, left the plantation and headed home. They believed their Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their own villages. They, however, never reached their destination, stranded on the way by a railway and steamer strike. They were caught by police and brutally beaten up. So now let's come to the next question, that is discuss the Salt March to make clear why it was an effective symbol of resistance against colonialism. So the answer is Mahatma Gandhi fought in the Salt, a powerful symbol that could unite the nation on 31st January 1930. He sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating that 11 demands. Some of these were the general interest, others were specified demand of different classes, from industrialists to peasant. The idea was to make the demand wide ranging so that all classes within Indian society could identify with them and everyone could be brought together in a united campaign. The most striking of all was demand to abolish the salt tax. Salt was something consumed by the rich and the poor alike, and it was one of the essential items of food. The tax on salt and the government monopoly over its production, Mahatma Gandhi declared, revealed the most oppressive phase of British rule. Mahatma Gandhi started his famous Salt March accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers. The march was over 240 miles from Gandhiji Ashram in the Sabarmati to the Gujarati coastal town of Dandi. The volunteers walked for 24 days, about 10 miles a day. Thousands came to hear Mahatma Gandhi whenever he stopped, and he told them what he meant by Swaraj and urged them to peacefully defy the British. On 6th April, he reached Dandi and ceremonially violated the law, manufacturing salt by boiling seawater. So now let's come to question number 3, which says, why did political leaders differ sharply over the question of separate electorates? So the answer is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who organized the Dalits into the Depressed Classes Association in 1930, clashed with Mahatma Gandhi at the second round table conference by demanding separate electorate for Dalits. When the British government considered Ambedkar demands, Gandhiji began a fast unto death. He believed that separate electorates for Dalit would slow down the process of their integration into society. Ambedkar ultimately accepted Gandhiji's position, and the result was the Pune Pact of September 1932. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was willing to give up the demand for separate electorates if Muslims were assured a reserved seat in the Central Assembly and representation in proportion to population in the Muslim-dominated provinces, Bengal and Punjab. Negotiations over the question of representation continued, but all hope of resolving the issue at the all parties conferences in 1928 disappeared when M.R. Jayakar of the Hindu Mahasabha strongly opposed efforts at compromise. So guys, this is all for the video. Hope you like our video. If you did, then don't forget to hit the like button and share this video with your friends as much as you can. And the most important thing, that don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel, that is Aglasam School, to get updated of all NCERT solutions and updates. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye.